Today we're going to look at an action camera that I got from banggood.com. This one's called an Eken. It's a 4K Ultra HD, very compact action camera. Let's take a look at this one. We're going to look at the specs to it, put it through its paces, go through the menus and so forth. I'm going to put up against a couple of my other cameras and we're going to see how it performs in the real world. Today we're going to look at the Eken H9R. This is an action camera, 4K, records 4K at 30 frames per second, has Wi-Fi, so you can control it from a phone, comes with a little remote control as well, and has a 20 megapixel still capability, and it's waterproof to 30 meters. So inside the box we get a waterproof housing, a frame, a couple mounts, handlebar mount, pole mount, and a remote control. And here is the specifications. It's Ultra HD 4K. It's waterproof, plus it has a 2-inch LCD screen. It will shoot in 4K 30 frames, 2.7K 30 frames, 1080p at 30 or 60 frames in H.264, and 720p at 120 frames, also H.264. 170 degree wide angle lens, has Wi-Fi 802.11b, G, and N. That's for controlling it from your phone, and you can control all the features. And here we go. Battery capacity is 1050 milliamp hours, which is good for about 50 minutes recording in 4K, and we'll check that out and see how long it does record for. It has micro USB and HDMI ports on it. Uses micro SD SHC cards, and then you can get the app for your phone. Download the app if you want to use the phone. It shows here what it can do. Remote control using your smartphone. Features include full camera control, live preview, photo playback, and sharing of selected content, and more. I probably won't be using the app on my phone, because for me a camera is something that you turn on and you push a button to record, but it does have the capability, so I more than likely won't be installing the app on my phone, just because it's something I would never use. So we'll open the camera up. The camera is held in place by, this is to stop, this little rubber cap here, this is to stop it from bouncing off and you losing it. Release the little rubber lock and slide the camera off of the base, in this case the box. We'll open the box up and pull out the accessories and see what we get in the box. Now some of the accessories here are missing just because I've already opened this up to run my tests. I've already shot the video. I can tell you that the recording does go for over 50 minutes in 4K because I already did it today. So the battery does give you 50 minutes of recording. Inside here there's a wrist strap. That's for the remote control, and of course a USB cable if you don't have one. And inside this pack is the accessories. Accessories are helmet and vehicle mounts. There's 2 of them here. I've just got one of them here. One of them I've already installed. You get 2 mounts. I've got this one attached to a threaded tripod mount, because you see that threaded tripod mount can screw into this bracket, this frame, which we'll get into that shortly. It also has a tripod mount so that you can actually mount the camera on a tripod, a standard 1/4-inch tripod mount, which this can go onto there too and create another way of swiveling it around for different angles so that it doesn't have to always point straight, right? Which is something that most of them don't do. So if you want the camera looking off to the side, you can adjust it and then lock it in place if your mount is already in place. Comes with a spare back, case you break the one that's already on there. Comes with a spare. This is the handlebar mount for mounting on handlebars or onto an extension pole for getting higher shots. And it comes with another bracket. This is a 90-degree bracket. So if you want to mount, if you've got your mount on and you want to mount the camera the other way, you've got a 90-degree bracket. These are the same, I believe, as GoPro uses too. It's kind of a GoPro clone. And the remote control that you can turn the camera off and, of course, take pictures and start and stop video. So you press the button, it'll start and stop video. Press that button, it'll take a picture. Press and hold this button, it'll turn the camera off. But you have to turn it on from the camera itself. As you see, it will not turn the camera on, but if I turn on the camera by pressing the button on the front, I don't have an SD card in here now, so it's going to tell me that there's no SD card. But if I press and hold, it will turn the camera off. Let's look at the camera itself. Okay, you got a power light on the top, and you got your power button over on the front here, and your shutter release, start, stop, and then a couple buttons on the side for changing settings. We pop the case open, we can remove the camera. In the side goes the micro SD card. You've also got your USB port and your micro HDMI, which can feed the video from the camera to your television, to a monitor, external monitor. And say the power button on the front, if I press and hold, it will turn the camera off. Everything's accessed through the 4 buttons on the camera itself. If we turn the camera back on, press it, hold the power button, it'll turn the camera on. And then we navigate through all the menus by just pressing the button on the camera itself. So to navigate, we just repeatedly press the power button. It'll go from video mode to still mode. Next press is burst mode, which will take a series of stills. The next mode is time-lapse mode, which you can set up different parameters. And then the fourth one is setup. So we get to setup, we're going to press the button on the top, and this will guide us through the different settings, such as video resolution, where you can select 1080p 60, 1080p 30, 4K 30, 2.7K 30, and 720p at 120 frames. So I've been doing the testing in 4K because we want to see what the quality of the camera what type of picture the camera is going to deliver. Time stamp, you can turn on the date or the date and time, or turn it off, which it's off in my case. Exposure control, I have not adjusted it. I've done all the test recordings at 0, but you can compensate exposure down 0.3 of an f-stop, 0.7, 1 f-stop, 1.3, 1.7, and 2 f-stops, and up as far as plus 2 f-stops. Again, for this demo, I did it in 0, so there's no exposure compensation. Photo resolution, here's where you can select your 20 megapixel wide, 16 megapixel wide, 12 and 8 megapixel. 5888 by 3312 is the highest resolution. Burst photo, you can select how many photos you want to shoot. I think it's just 3. It shoots just 3 burst photos at once. Time lapse, this one you can change for, it's going to take a series of stills and turn them into a movie, and you can set your time lapse for 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 5, 10, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, or 60 seconds between the shots. Power line frequency, this is to reduce flicker from mercury vapor and sodium type lights, even cheap LEDs, because they will strobe at the line frequency. Most modern lighting equipment is using an electronic ballast, so that's not going to be an issue, but you can set it for 50 or 60 hertz depending on where you are. Language, I think that one's self-explanatory. Date and time, this is obviously where you change the date and time, which I've already set it, so I don't need to worry about that. Sound indicator, that's just the beep, on and off. Upside down, you can flip the picture over. If you want to hang the camera upside down, you can flip it over. Screensaver, this is turns the screen off when you're recording after 1, 3, or 5 minutes, or off, keeps the screen running all the time. Now that's going to drain your battery if you're on battery, but if you're powering it up, you can choose to leave it on. Power saver, this will shut the camera off after 1, 3, or 5 minutes if you don't start a recording, or turn it off if you want the camera to stay on. So if you're using this, say, to record your road trip in your car, and you want to, because you see, you can power this camera up from a USB source. So if you've got a USB source in your car, like a cigarette lighter adapter, for example, with a USB output, you can power the camera up, and then it won't drain the battery. So in that case, you could turn off the power save setting, and the camera would continue to stay on even if you're not recording, which is good if you're doing a road trip and you want to just do highlights of interesting things you see on the road. You can have the camera on and just reach over and press the button to start and stop the recording. Format, obviously, formats the memory card. Resets everything to factory, and version gives you the version of software running on the camera. That's pretty much it as far as the features, or as far as the settings go. If you look at the specifications here, it tells you right here, the camera automatically stops recording when the battery is out of power. Your videos will be saved before the camera powers off. So if you run out of juice, it's not going to lose that last recording. It'll save it before the camera powers down, which is an important feature, because some cameras don't do that, as have some of the ones I've had in the past. This is incorrect though, because if you look under, it says storage, micro SD cards. It says the camera is compatible with 16 and 32 gigabyte capacity micro SD cards. And that is incorrect, because it is compatible with 128 gigabyte cards, because that is what I used when I did the video. I put a 128 gigabyte card in, formatted in my computer. It's formatted in the exFAT mode. It would not format it in the camera, because it may format it to FAT32, and that could limit the capacity. But it does read the card in the exFAT, and it does support the large format. So don't pay any attention to that. This is incorrect. This may have been from a previous version, but the software that came on this camera definitely does support 128 gig memory card. If I turn it on, okay, the button's on the side. Bottom button is used to turn on the Wi-Fi to pair it to your phone, and the top button is used for playback. So if I press this button here, it will now select playback mode, and I don't know what that one is. I think that's for images, I think, and this one's for the videos. So I press the shutter release, and it'll show me I have 25 video clips on here, and I can scroll through the different video clips that I've stored, and I just press the shutter release to play them back. So we're going to take a look at the actual video. Now I'm going to put this up against a couple of other cameras so that we can compare. Some of the shots that I shot in my car, I will compare them to my 4K dash camera that's mounted in my window, so we can get a direct comparison. We're going to look at the same shots that were shot at the same time, and I've got some shots that I shot from my motorcycle. I had the camera mounted on my helmet, so we'll compare some shots to a Nikon Key Mission 170, and we'll compare shots that say mounted from the helmet, all in 4K mode, so we can get an idea of how this stacks up to much more expensive cameras. Anyway, I've got some shots during the day, and I've done some shots in the dark. So let's take a look at the picture quality of this little inexpensive, I think it was around $70 camera that I got from Banggood. And the link to this is in the description. So let's take a look at the actual quality of the image that this camera records.
So included in the kit is a tether kit, so that if the mount were to come dislodged from a vehicle, for example, you're not going to lose the camera. You just zap tie it onto something that is secure. That way, in the event that the mount were to let go, for whatever reason, you're not going to lose your camera.
Okay, the first shot we're going to look at here, this was done with my Nikon Key Mission 170 mounted on my helmet. Just so you get a reference to what the Nikon delivers. The Nikon is a very expensive action camera. I believe this one was like almost $500. I've had it a couple of years, but it was one of the most expensive of the action cameras that I've seen. And as you can see, the picture quality is actually excellent off of this. This one was shot the other day. And we're going to look at the same section of road from the same mount for a direct comparison. So let's take a look at the other one. So now we'll look at the Eken. Again, same location. Picture quality is very good. Okay, on the left side of the screen, the Eken H9R. The right side of the screen, the Nikon Key Mission 170. The Eken's about a $70 camera. The Nikon was $500. I just did a quick check on Amazon. There's one right now asking $742 for a Key Mission 170. Does it have a better picture? The jury's out. I think it probably has a little bit better picture, but for the price, there's a huge difference in the price between the Eken and the Nikon. So what I did is I took the camera out for a long ride today. I wanted to see how long the battery would last, so I just took it on a little drive for about an hour. I'm going to go through the Massey Tunnel here in the counterflow lane. So this is the scariest part, because you've got traffic coming the other way right at you. It's bad enough in a car. Do it on a motorcycle. But what I want to do is I want to see how the transition from one file to the next is. It records files that they're 5 minutes long, and then it starts a new file. So this file is coming up to the end. We're going to let it play through and into the next file and see how the transition is from one file to the next. Okay, here it comes. You'll see a slight jump right now. That's the transition. So there are a few frames lost in the transition from one frame to the next. Other cameras that I've got are totally seamless, the Nikon being one of them. My dash cam in my car is seamless. This one's not. But it's not bad. I wanted to see how it handles being actually mounted to the fairing. So this is a Harley that's on. They have a tendency to shake a bit at low RPM. So I just wanted to see how it would handle the vibration. which seems to be handling it okay. A little bit of jello look there. That's the rolling shutter, and that's just due to the vibration when the engine's at really slow speed. But I think if I were to mount my Nikon on there, it's going to do exactly the same thing because it uses a rolling shutter as well. At the low engine speeds, the whole thing shakes. Anybody who's ever ridden a Harley will know what I'm talking about. Once you get up to speed, it's like sitting on a couch, but at slow speeds and slow RPMs, yeah, they tend to shake a bit. That's why we ride them, right? At speed, it's not nearly as bad. I'm going to now take the camera and put it in the car, and we're going to compare it to my 4K dash cam, my $250 4K dash cam. We're going to try it as it gets dark and see how it performs in the dark. I've now mounted it in the dash, right in the middle of my window, and we're going to compare this one to my Viofo $250 4K dash camera. So this is the Eken H9R. Gotta clean my window here. Let's just take a listen to the built-in microphone for internal sound. Yeah, just scrub it off. What does this guy think he's doing? Like, that's not the lane to drive in, buddy. That's the parking lane. So he goes right back over to that edge of the road again, like he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Okay, I'm going to cut over to my VFO 4K dash camera. This is a $250 dual camera. I've got one in the back as well. It's a 1080 in the back and 4K up front. But I just want you to see the difference in the picture quality between a $70 camera and a $250 camera. This is my dash camera that stays in my car, that records everything. It has GPS, it has everything. It records the speed, it records the location, everything on this one. And this is my permanent camera, but I want to just do a comparison. So let's take a look at the other one again. Definitely doesn't have quite the detail. If you look at the electrical wires, we'll cut back. Okay, quite the noticeable difference. But then again, we're looking at a camera that is over twice the price of the Eken. So it's holding its own, but it certainly is not as sharp as some of the other 4K cameras that are available. But we'll take another quick look at it here, and then we're going to do some dark shots and end this video as it's dragging on. So back to the Eken H9R we go. To say the pictures is not terrible, but it doesn't have the detail that either my VFO dash cam, dual dash cam, or my Nikon Key Mission 170 do. But again, both of those are much more expensive cameras. So for the price, I think this is probably a good camera for an entry-level 4K camera. I see a little bit of pixelating there if you look up in the sky, but certainly the electrical wires don't have the detail that the other cameras do. So at this point, I'm going to cut over to the nighttime. We're going to look at the first shot will be dusk, and I picked this shot, by the way, when I did this, driving into the sun, because this is the hardest type of shot to get, going into the sun. As you can see, both of them actually do a pretty good job, right into the blinding sun. But at night, that's where we're really going to see the difference between the two of them, and that's where this one's going to fall. It's going to fall flat on its face, I'll tell you right now, in terms of the low light. But let's look at the dark performance. So here's the Eken. It's dusk now. It's just starting to get dark. It's not quite totally dark yet. Bring your attention to the sign on the right. We're going to show the same shot done with my Viofo dash cam. So I'm just going to let this run here for a few seconds, and we'll show you the same shot from the Viofo, and then we're going to do pitch black on the freeway with no street lighting or anything. And then we'll close this one up. I think that we've seen how this one performs. Actually, it's not a bad performer, but it's not a really excellent performer. It's middle of the road. I would probably give this one on a scale of 1 to 10. Here we go. This is the Viofo. I would give this one a high 9, 9.5, 10. How good this camera is. But again, $250 versus $70. Big difference in the price. A lot of people would not want to pay that kind of money for a dash cam or an action camera, because quite frankly, these are the type of cameras that are going to get smashed, right? You're using them for skiing or snowboarding or BMX racing, and they're going to get beat up. So for the money, I think the other camera is very good for what it costs. It's just not as good as it could be, and this is what it could be. As you can see, nighttime performance is not good, but it's an action camera. You're generally not doing things in the dark, at least you shouldn't be. As a dash camera, it kind of fails in that, because you want good performance in the dark, but it's not a dash camera. I was just putting it in the car to show how it could look. Here's what my other dash camera does in the dark under the same lighting conditions. Shot at the same time, you can even see the red light reflecting off the window of the other camera. And this is what a good dash camera will do in the dark. Anyway, gone on long enough. Link to the camera is in the description. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one real soon.